Very pleased to say, though, my next guest is local author Elliot Thorpe, whose new book called Cold Runs the Blood has been giving me chills on my daily commute, I have to say. I've got it in front of me now. Not for the faint-hearted, it's a gripping read. We'll find out more about him, the new book, and his latest projects as well on the way, after I take you back to the 60s with the Temptations. Some great Motown memories there, the Temptations, and get ready. BBC Essex is 12 minutes past 3. Good afternoon, Tony Fisher here. Always great to talk to local authors on the show, and my guest has been giving me chills on my daily commute, I have to say, with his brand new book. So come with me, if you will, to a medieval world where disciples of a powerful vampire roam the land looking for his last remains, while a battle between the living and the undead unleashes in a bloody, disturbing debut novel. I'm frightening myself now. Elliot is with me. Elliot Thorpe, good afternoon.
Hello.
Great to see you. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Excellent. First of all, thank you very much for the entertainment you have been providing me.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
I think one of the hallmarks of a good read is when you find yourself reading something that is not your genre, and you continue to read it. And this is not normally my genre, and I picked it up and I thought, oh, here we go. And then all of a sudden, I was in, pretty much from the beginning, because this, right from the preface of this book, we know we're in for a bit of a tough time.
It's not a fun time to read, I guess.
No, absolutely. But of course, as the nights start to draw in, this is perfect sort of autumnal reading now, because we're going to be talking about as well. Yeah. First of all, give us an outline of the story itself, because I don't want to do that, because what I don't want to do is, because I'm nearly halfway through, is to give anything away. So just sort of take us through.
Without giving too much of the plot away, it's set in 1476 in medieval Eastern Europe, and it traces the story of a Benedictine monk called Giuliano Apollinari and his fight for right against the crease of darkness. So it's a lifelong kind of battle he's had, and because he's a monk, the Church, the Vatican, kind of turn a blind eye at what he's doing, but still accept and glad that he's out there helping them, kind of thing. And really it kind of traces his journey, his apprentices that he's had throughout his lives, and the battles he's fighting, and it's set against the real historical background of a battle between the Ottoman Turks and the Wallachians, what was used to be Romania as is now. And basically it's kind of set in a historical time, and it also introduces a character which people might know of called Vlad the Impaler. And he's obviously the literary inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I've kind of used the real historical figure as a kind of a hook for the book, and to say that he's not the bad guy in the book will kind of tell you how bad the bad guys in the book really are.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the moment I saw the name Vlad, I thought, there's got some sort of vampiristic twist in this book. Again, I don't want to give too much away, because one of the things that you do, if I may say, expertly at the beginning of the book, is you don't give away that much. It reads to me very much like a history lesson almost. You bring to life this world, this medieval world, and then all of a sudden bad things start to happen, but you're not quite sure who's doing what to who at first, are you?
Well, it was when I've spent months researching the time, and I'm a big fan of medieval history anyway, so it was kind of second nature to set the book in that time. And I'm a big horror fan. I've been watching Hammer Horror and John Carpenter movies since I was knee high, kind of thing. Thanks to my parents. Should I blame them for putting me to it so early?
You got the VHSs in early, did you?
Absolutely, yeah. Sitting there watching Christopher Lee on a Friday night when Mum's out, and so I was kind of had a fascination already for both those genres, and I thought, why not put them together? And I'd been researching on Vlad the Impaler as well, because he's based on the literary Dracula, and another character called Elizabeth Bathory, and her cousin, who was a real person, Stephen Bathory, is in the book as well. So he was a contemporary of Vlad the Impaler, so all these characters that I kind of learnt about, I thought, let's make a fictional stories surrounding them, but not necessarily have them as the main antagonists, but put it in a real world that people can perhaps kind of understand and get a bit of a history lesson from. Yeah,
and this is a real barbaric world we're talking about here.
Absolutely,
as well,
it wasn't the easiest time for the lowliest normal person, and certainly it was very much a case of religion kind of ruled the land, and if you weren't the right religion, I guess in lots of things around the world now it's still the same, but this particularly was a horrible, brutal time, and how to make a horror novel where the bad guys are worse than the historical figure was quite a challenge.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And it's worth saying as well that with this book, it you have to work with it, because there's plenty going on, there's lots of characters, and I find myself going back and forth somewhere saying that character, I think it's because of the names, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could have kind of put, names like John and Phil, but it didn't quite work when it's in, European Romania.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of emulate the names that were relatively easy, but a lot of the names in there are kind of referenced and homages to other things that I've watched or read as well.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the characters, Rintoul, is based from an actor, David Rintoul, who was in a 1975 Peter Cushing werewolf film. So
right, I see.
And if you know the links, great. If you don't, then it shouldn't hopefully stop you enjoying the book. But if you know those links there, then I guess it's best for a bit of addition for the reader as well. So
you'll be giving people, especially budding authors listening right now, an awful lot of inspiration here, because they think, well, actually, no, I watched quite a lot of horror films when I was young. I was quite inspired. I mean, one of my favourites was always, and it came around on BBC One all the time at 11 o'clock, that was The Ghoul.
Yes,
do you remember
absolutely. Again, it's a Hammer film, I think it was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That one kept repeated all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember once putting a tape recorder by the speakers before we had the video recorder. I just recorded the soundtrack of The Ghoul.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I did that as well. Yeah, I mean, it's all that era, all the kind of the 70s kind of films. Not necessarily more the American, but certainly the kind of the British horrors that I enjoyed. The kind of what's seen and kind of felt is better than kind of out and out in your face gore, I guess. Yeah. Which kind of detracts from the book, really, because it is in your face.
Earlier on last week, I had the actor Ian McElhinney on the show, who's in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And I was asking him about the success of Game of Thrones and what it was. And,
yes.
And he was putting it down. He's as baffled as everybody else, I think, really.
Absolutely,
but there does seem to be a real fondness for history, but also the history mixed in with sci-fi, with medieval history, and throwing it all together, because that's what Game of Thrones is, in effect.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sci-fi and history.
I would never attest to say my books as those kind of that series, but I'm trying my best to kind of get what I need to do and say what I need to say. But yeah, certainly it could be Game of Thrones, but with vampires and not dragons, I guess, for want of a better phrase. And it's a rich canvas, and even though it's historical and it technically did happen, if you read the history books correctly, you can make anything up with that canvas. It's probably easier in some ways than writing kind of futuristic, because you've literally got to invent everything in the future. But writing about historical facts, it's all kind of there ready to be tapped into.
I was going to ask you that, whether you find it easier if you have real people to be able to base these events on. So you can fictionalise the events to a degree, but do you find it more of a bedrock if you've got real people to base it on?
Well, I think any character has to be based on who you know to some extent, because you can't, obviously people are people at the end of the day, but certainly from a historical point of view, you can base them on what you know about a historical figure. But the characters that you make up yourself, yes, they could be based on certain characters from other genres and so on, or it could be familiarities or aspects of different people that that you've put into somebody. So it could be that the Benedictine monk could be somebody I know who's had a bit of a tough life and doesn't know quite where they're going in life, but he's found a path that suits him. So it's all those kind of aspects and facets you put in to make these characters up, make them believable, I guess. And that's the thing, not cliche but believable.
We should talk more in a second or two, okay. And we also want to branch out to Doctor Who as well.
Absolutely.
Let's talk more about that, because that certainly is the thing to talk about at the moment. But we're talking to our special guest this afternoon, Elliot Thorpe, author of Cold Runs the Blood. More of that, if you dare, soon.
BBC Essex. Keep on the move with BBC Essex Travel. Every 15 minutes at peak times and every...
It's BBC Essex, 3:25. My guest today has been causing me sleepless nights. Elliot Thorpe is his name. Cold Runs the Blood, his latest novel set in a medieval world, good against evil. And I'm not saying any more than that, apart from it's well worth a read, especially with the nights drawing in soon. But Elliot, we were talking there. You're from Southend.
I am.
And this is your debut novel, but you're not new to writing by any stretch, are you?
No, I've been writing for a few years. I kind of do a lot of featured articles for kind of things, kind of genre sites, films, movies and books and so on. I also belong to a group in Essex called Writers Anonymous, and we meet every month and put together fiction and verse that we publish twice a year. We've got our book coming out in the 4th of October called Grave Matters, and we're also going to be signing my book and my Doctor Who work and Grave Matters at the Forum on the 4th of October, so come along and see us, and we're happy to kind of get new members on board as well. But what I'm also doing at the moment, which is kind of a big thing for me, because I'm a big Doctor Who fan, is I'm writing an unofficial Doctor Who charity anthology, or at least I'm contributing to it, called The War Doctor Seasons of War. Now, if you saw the 50th anniversary episode back in November, John Hurt played a version of the Doctor we'd never seen before. He's only had the one episode. He's had one book that the BBC issued officially, I think, a few months ago. But this is purely for charity, and it's been edited by three guys called Declan May, Warren Frey and Simon Brett, and it'll be available in early December. And it's a collection of stories featuring John Hurt's Doctor, and we've got Doctor Who alumni such as Lance Parkin, John Peel, Gary Russell, George Mann, Jim Mortimer, Kate Orman. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, those names might be familiar to you. If not, then I guess they wouldn't be. But ultimately, it's a great thing, and all the proceeds are going straight to the Caldwell Children's Charity. It's a charity that supports families of children with learning disabilities, with cancer. So it's a fantastic scheme we're kind of doing this for.
Terrific.
But we're looking for people to kind of help promote this book. It will be coming out at the beginning of December, and there'll be a promotional run from the 21st, 22nd of September onwards. But if people are willing to kind of help us kind of do podcasts and adverts and reviews anyway, then we're more happy to take people on board. So if they can contact us, that would be fantastic.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, you've got a great website as well, so if people want to get more details, what's your website name?
Oh, blimey, now you got me there. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I'll tell you what, all I did was type in Elliot Thorpe.
Okay.
And if you type it in, it comes pretty much top.
Well, the best thing to do is go via my Twitter account, which is @Elliot1701, and you can get anything from there, and I can answer you and give you directions where you need to go for the Doctor Who stuff and my stuff and my big Finnish Doctor Who play as well I did a few years ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, before you go, what do you think of Doctor Who? The new one?
The new one,
Peter
I think
Capaldi?
it's fantastic. Yeah, he kind of echoes the good old 70s John Pertwee, early Tom Baker era, and I think it's in good hands for many years to come.
Yeah, it's nice to see an older Doctor, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were concerned initially that if they put an older Doctor in, it takes away the David Tennant, Matt Smith kind of fan base, but I guess Peter Capaldi is of his own merits, and he'll win them over straight away, and I'm kind of guessing by 9 million viewers on his first episode, he's done a pretty good job already, so long may he reign. And
I mean, as far as the plots are concerned, have you found the plots just recently? Because obviously this is your area, isn't it?
I love to write for the series one day, but I know that will probably never happen. So am I in a position to criticise the plots? Probably not. It's so Steve Moffat's listening.
Yes.
But I find what they've done now, certainly Peter Capaldi's influence, he wants the scenes to be longer, more exposition, which I think is fantastic because, you know, maybe the Matt Smith, David Tennant eras were kind of scenes in, quick scenes out again, and very fast moving. And certainly an 80-minute episode for Peter Capaldi's first episode was a lovely length to kind of get used to his characterisation and to get the plot out, and that's the important thing.
And it must have been a huge event anyway, because it was screened at cinemas at the same time and came into the top 10.
Absolutely. They did the experiment for the anniversary special back on the 20th of November, and I guess it worked, so why not do it again and go for it.
Doctor Who on the big screen. And do you remember the Doctor Who, the Peter Cushing film?
I do, yes, the two of them, yes.
Yeah, that was a weird one, wasn't it? Well, you don't see very often on the telly, that one.
No, I mean, I don't think they could. I think they were going to try and get William Hartnell, the first Doctor, but because Peter Cushing was a big name, even more so in those days, and because they were going to sell it across the Atlantic, they had to get him on board to push the series. And they were going to do a third film, but for whatever reason, they never followed up with it. But no, I think they're great. Good old Technicolor Daleks screeching around.
Yeah, and it was Technicolor,
absolutely,
wasn't it? Beautiful, beautiful stuff. If people want to get hold of the book, Cold Runs the Blood, it's out now, isn't it? How can people get hold of it?
They can get hold of it through Amazon. It's paperback and on for Kindle, for those of the Kindle orientated, but get the paperback because it's more tangible and it's in your hand.
Oh, you've got to have it.
Absolutely, you can smell a book in your hand.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's nothing quite like it. Been great meeting you today,
Thank you very
Elliot.
much.
All the very best. Keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're up to. And all the very best for the Doctor Who project
very much.
as well. Cheers for now.
Thank you.
Our special guest this afternoon, Elliot Thorpe from Southend, and Cold Runs the Blood, not for the faint-hearted. Why not try it out? It's out now. It's 3:30. It's time to play. Here we go.
Tony Fisher in the afternoon. The 3:30 Connection.
From Grosvenor House Publishing, Cold Runs the Blood, a novel of medieval horror by Elliot Thorpe. Available now in paperback or on Kindle.